So either you do it or you don't. But if you don't have the life that you want to have by the time you're whatever age, right? Whatever goal you want to set for yourself, it's because you didn't do the things that you had to do. We always have that choice. And even like not choosing is a choice. So I think it's important for everybody to know, take action. And if you fail, it's okay because you're going to learn. And all successful people, they all failed at least once.
Welcome to another episode. My guest today is the one and only Carmen Robledo. How you doing today?
I am wonderful. I'm blessed. I'm abundant. Soy próspera.
That's
How
what's
are you?
up. Awesome, mommy. Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, first question that I have for you. What school do you go to?
So,
High school.
What high school did I go to? I went to Sussex Central High School.
Sussex Central High School. How was that experience?
It was an interesting experience. I enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed the group of friends that I had, but I also put myself through a couple things because I actually ended up doing a couple AP classes, and then I did their IB classes, so their International Baccalaureate program, which was a lot because we were never introduced to like that kind of rigorous program, but I made it through.
That's what's up, man. So, who are you?
Who am I? I love this question. I am the daughter of a king. I am a first-gen Latina. I am a philosophy lover, a book lover, and I'm also an entrepreneur.
You know, when I first met you, you got a sister, right? You guys
do.
look alike. She's still in the D.C. area?
Yeah, she's still out there.
No way, man.
My sister, she works out there because she's works for the National Guard Bureau.
Wow. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, your businesses, your family businesses. Like, I know that you have a clothing store. And I'm excited. You talked about now that you have another line coming out.
Yes.
But then let's talk about the construction business. How did that start? I know it's your pops. And how did you get involved to running the business?
So our construction company, so it's called Cheyenne Construction, and I love the story behind the name. But that started, I want to say, it's still a little under 2 years ago. And thankfully, up until now, we've been doing pretty good. And that started because when we were little, so my dad used to work for this big company in Ocean City. And all his life, he made it up and he scaled up and became foreman. He ended up being like, one of the top project managers for the company, right? And our entire life, we kind of just knew. We talked about it with my mom and my sisters. Like, my dad could have his own company, pero por lo mismo, like, when you're an immigrant family, you don't want to let go of that secure income. It's that uncertainty that stops a lot of people from doing it. And so it was eventually my dad decided, like, hey, I want to do this. And I think it's so funny because my dad decided to go into it because of us, like me and my sisters and my mom. So we have our clothing store business, and that was like a leap of faith. We had never been in business. My sisters and I knew nothing about business, and we had just started, I think, a year or two prior to that, before the construction company. And eventually my dad was like, okay, like, he saw us and the way we were doing things, and he was like, okay, let's do it. Like, I want to start my own construction company. And that's where that was born, And then we have Cheyenne Construction, which instead of because Cheyenne is spelled with a C, we spell it with an S. And my dad is a huge country lover, right? We are a country loving family. And his favorite artist is George Strait, right? And one night, I don't remember what we were doing, but my dad started playing George Strait, and this one song specifically that he kept repeating was "I Can Still Make Cheyenne." And to anybody who's ever listened to the song, it's basically this rodeo man who was calling his wife saying, "Hey, I'm not gonna make it home on time, or I'm on my way back from this rodeo," and she's like, "No, you can just stay there. I don't want a rodeo man as a husband anymore." And that was it. And my dad, I guess, really felt this song and felt connected to this man, and he was his best friend. And that song was on repeat for weeks. When I tell you, my dad loves that song. And eventually, when we started thinking of company names, we were like, what do we want it to be? We want it to be different, but we still want it to connect to us. And my dad loves Wyoming for the same reason that he loves the song. And we were like, Cheyenne. My dad's name starts with an S though. So we were like, we're going to make it Cheyenne Construction, something that he's really connected to. And so we switched the C for an S because when you write out Cheyenne Construction, it's SC, right, as the initials. And we wanted to keep it the same as our other business, which is Sweet Chicas, so SC. So now that's kind of like the letters that kind of represent who we are.
That is what's going on.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. So talk to us about Sweet Chicas.
Sweet Chicas. Sweet Chicas is...
I love the logo, too. I seen it at
Thank
the festival.
Thank you. Yes, so Sweet Chicas was a name my older sister came up with, right? When we first started the business, we were like, we've never done this before. What name do we even go with? We want something to connect. And we were like, we want something because we're first-gen Latinas. So we were like, we want it to be bilingual. We want it so we can connect with a bunch of people, like especially the girls. And so we were like, eventually one day my sister came to me. She was like, what do you think about Sweet Chicas? And I was like, I love it. It's perfect. It's who we are, like the Sweet Chicas. And now that's what I know a lot of people know us by. Our vendors, they don't even know us by our names. Like we come in and they're like, Chicas, hey, las Sweet Chicas. And yeah, that's pretty much where that name was born. And we took it and we ran.
So you guys grew up here in Sussex County?
Yes.
What town?
In Dagsboro.
That's home, huh? That's home. What's your favorite restaurant?
Oh, my favorite restaurant.
Okay, not two. Your top two.
My top two around here. So in the area or like Dagsboro?
Dagsboro, yeah.
That area.
That area. Between that Millsboro,
Selbyville. I really enjoy the food from La Tacana in Selbyville. And every once in a while, I like going to Porto's. They're right on Main Street in Dagsboro.
Porto, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So talk to us about La Plaza. You are also a member, staff at La Plaza. Why?
I just started with La Plaza the beginning of this year. So up until this moment, I've been there. My title is technically a resource coordinator, and I've been with them for about 2 months now. I love what I do. I love the fact that we are helping our community. Something that I've realized recently, there's a saying called uno más uno son tres, right? 1 plus 1 equals 3. And mathematically, obviously, that doesn't make any sense. But I love what it truly means to me, right? So uno más uno son tres means that it's me and I can connect another person with a third person, and then the three of us win, right? So even like in La Plaza.
Say that again. Say that again.
Oh, right? So it's me, and I'm going to take my friend or anybody else that I know and connect it to a third person, and in the end, we all win, because that's what life is about.
Facts.
You don't make it. All successful people, they will always tell you, I didn't do this alone.
That's right.
It's a team effort, right? And so that's why I love uno más uno son tres. And at La Plaza, the meaning that I have for it there is that it's me and the team, right? And I love it because we're all women. We're a small team, but we're all women. And we all take our connections, who we know, and help the business owners, and we help our community, right? And I think that's the most beautiful part of it, because at the end of the day, again, you're not going to make it on your own. You're going to need some help along the way, and that's exactly what we're here for.
If you had to explain, why are you so driven? Where does that, well, I know it comes from La Familia, yes. Right? But why are you so driven and focused of giving back and serving the community?
I would say that it's because I've seen what it's like to not have that support. And whether it was in my own family or just seeing it externally in other families, I know what it's like to not have that support. And so being able to help business owners and just people in our community in general, that fills me with this joy, because it's like, now I feel like I'm doing something, especially in these times. They're hard times. There's a lot of uncertainty, but at least here, I have a purpose. I can do something about it.
Awesome. And what is La Plaza?
So La Plaza is this beautiful nonprofit organization that essentially helps Latino business owners or people who want to open their businesses. And we provide all resources you need business related, right? So we do workshops, we do leadership classes, anything there is to do with business and just to better yourself as a business owner. That's what we help with.
Understood. How has social media played a part in strengthening your relationships?
I love it. Social media is a tool, right? And I feel like many things, you can use it to help you or you can just use it to pass time, right? And social media is one of the biggest tools that I've had because it's connected me to so many people. And I think connection, like in the entire world, that's exactly what we should be looking for because you never know who somebody else is going to know. You never know what somebody else is going to think, right? And other people's trying to how do I say this? Understanding other people's ways of thinking helps me comprehend the world, right? And whether or not I agree with that, it helps me understand everybody's beliefs.
Understood. So here, you could be like your sister. You could be in DC. You could be in California. You could be, chasing the rodeo, like living your dad's dreams. Why you chose to stay here in Sussex County?
I've chosen to stay because for the moment, this is my home. I've never really decided hey, this is where I want to stay or I want to leave. But at the moment, I love it here. It combines everything that I love. You have the beach, you have the countryside, but aside from that, it's the people. There's a community here that I feel like I've really connected to. And I know that I have a purpose here. There's a reason why we've chosen to establish our businesses here, why we've chosen to want to grow them here, and a reason why I'm now a part of La Plaza. La Plaza was founded right here in Sussex County. And so I know there's a reason. God always has a plan. And for the moment, I know I'm meant to stay here. I have never chosen to branch out. But I do love traveling. I think that's very important for somebody to do, whether it's just a few miles out or a couple states over or traveling internationally, knowing the world opens up your mind.
Facts.
And I think it's so important. That's why I just really enjoy traveling because you meet so many people and the connections, and it just all goes back to that human interaction.
That's right. What was your last trip?
My last trip, so in the States, my last trip was in February, and I went to Las Vegas with my sister, and that's for some very exciting news that we have coming up. And before that, internationally, at the beginning of the year, I went to Jalisco, Mexico.
That's right. Where did I know I'm not tripping. I saw you guys, right? You had some cowboy boots. Y'all was having some fun somewhere. Yeah. Was that in Las Vegas? Or in Jalisco?
I think that was Jalisco.
Okay. How was that?
That was a beautiful experience. It was so different, but again, I really enjoyed it. The people there are so welcoming. I love traveling internationally because you see the difference in the vibe as soon as you land or when you meet people from those towns. It's so different. Here I feel like we live a very fast-paced life, especially as business owners and stuff like that. We live a very fast-paced life, so it's kind of you never really give yourself the time to stop and say hello to anybody who's walking right past you. But over there, you say hi to everybody. You could just be walking down the street and you say buenos dias or buenas tardes 50,000 times a day. And I love it because that's what they care about. They care about just truly living in the moment.
Man, that's so deep. But damn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Slow down and enjoy what you got right now before you find yourself being, 80, looking back saying, what the heck? This just, everybody that I meet, right? And I'm almost there. I'm on my way there. When you find that those conversations we find ourselves having is about that. Slow down. Be in the moment. So it's so refreshing to hear somebody your age talking about that, just being in the moment, having the experiences, right? Off air, we were talking about, how to document, making sure that we do that so we can reflect and look back and be able to remind ourselves of the journey, what we've done, what we've lived. So, is there a question that you wish I would have asked you?
I guess it would be about, oh my goodness, I'm trying to think. It would be more about kind of like talking about my family or just like people I look up to.
Talk to me.
In
People
that
you look up
sense,
to.
to people I look
Yes.
up to.
Influences in your lives.
Yes. I think influencing, like people who influence your life can come from anywhere. It doesn't have to be
That's right.
from somebody you know personally,
Yes.
right? And the people who I look up to, I'm gonna start with my mom, because I know for a fact, and I thank God every day for that woman, because she is a leader. She is a trailblazer.
That's what's up.
Because if it weren't for her, I know that I wouldn't be where I am today, and I wouldn't be who I am today. That's like not to take away the credit from the rest of my family, but my mother is the one who pushed us out basically into business. And if it weren't for that, I would have never realized how much I love it. I would have stuck to the stigma of, your typical Latino beliefs.
Yes.
They're very limiting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the world we live in, but it's not the world that I want, like, for example, my kids to grow up in. I want to change that.
That's right.
And my mom was the one who changed that for me. She was the one who started it all. She bought us a $99 box of makeup, right? My mom scraped up her last $99 when I was out of high school. And she gave it to us. And she was like, do what you will with this, but I know that some way, somehow, this is gonna like take you to your next level, right? And so we had a $99 box of makeup, and we were just like, all right. My older sister took charge, honestly, at that point, and she was like, all right, we're gonna sell these little pieces of makeup. And that's what we did for a couple months. And then it was because of that little push. Like my mom, we always laugh about it. She's like, she apologizes to this. She's like, I'm sorry that I just like pushed you guys off this cliff. But it was either in that moment, it's like a sink or swim kind of moment. Right. And we chose to swim, and here we are. It's like, and we've tried and we've failed at a lot of things. And it's because of that we've learned. We just keep learning. I say that if you were to strip me away from everything, like materialistically at least, I could get it back so easily just because of everything that I've learned, right? And then aside from my mom, there's this, I love listening to podcasts about people who have quote unquote made it, right? Because I don't really think there's like a you made it moment. There's always something more to
That's right.
to have as your goals, right?
Yep.
You're never just going to reach that goal and be like, okay, I'm done. So there's never really that made it moment. I think you can be very impactful in the way you lead and the way you speak to the people who are coming behind you. But we were talking about social media before, and it was because of that I found like a lot of people who I really look up to. One of those being this real estate developer. Her name is Marta Marcia, and I love her. I listen to her every single day, every chance I get, right? And she is so inspiring, and I think she was one of the first people who really made that click for me. Like, hey, I need to get my stuff together and actually take action and do something about it, because at the end of the day, either nobody's coming to do it or you don't. But if you don't have the life that you want to have by the time you're whatever age, right? Whatever goal you want to set for yourself, it's because you didn't do the things that you had to do. We always have that choice, and even like not choosing is a choice. So I think it's important for everybody to know, take action. And if you fail, it's okay, because you're going to learn, and all successful people, they all failed at least once. So we're going to make it, and it's all right. I loved it.
Well, you dropped the mic. We'll drop the mic. We'll end with that. Until next time.